I'm going to talk about Charles Cullen, otherwise known as the Angel of Death. This story I had heard about before, but I don't think I paid much attention to it. So this was my first time actually reading who exactly Charles Cullen was and what he did. Going through it, I was actually really surprised that no one had ever thought to mention, hey, this guy has been fired multiple times, or no one, I guess it did say at the end that it wasn't legal to ask jobs for, or ask prior employers for their opinion on this person. But I thought that there should at least have been some sort of communication, some sort of background check, or something to tell the people hiring this person that he had been accused of malpractice multiple times. And I think it's just crazy that he bounced to, I think I counted at least 5 hospitals doing this. The article mentioned something about how there's no way of knowing how many people Mr. Cullen killed, which is just crazy, especially because I believe when it started there was no way of tracking, who was pulling out certain medications and what patients they were using them on. That's a fairly new technology to us, and obviously it's very important that it's new to us because people can't just go pulling up digoxin and giving it to people in lethal doses. But I thought that was interesting, the safety measures that we have in place now and how it finally brought him to justice. That was really interesting to me, that something that we use day to day. And I actually just learned the other day that whenever I use the Omnicell at work, but whenever you use it, you can go back in and you can see everyone's name on the actual Omnicell, who pulled out what drug on what patient at what time, and it lists it for you. And I didn't know that you could get into it that easily, but you can, which was really interesting to me. Honestly, this article just blew my mind that anyone could, first of all, do this, but second of all, that no one said anything. Even the nurses in the hospitals, the article mentioned that the nurses were quicker to pick up on it than law enforcement and hospital administration was. I think nurses have a duty to their patients to mention if they think, even if they think something's going on, if they see someone in their room that's not supposed to be in their room, if someone has a drug and they shouldn't have that drug. I think that is a huge thing to advocate for your patient, as to, this nurse was in my room and she had this drug, or she or he had this drug, and she's not supposed to be in there. Which was my biggest takeaway from this, is just advocate for your patient and their safety, and say something if you see something, because that's just, it's crazy that he could kill 40 patients, which obviously there were probably more, most likely there were more. I also thought it was interesting that his youngest patient was 21, and he more went after elderly people. And it went into a bit of a backstory about his past, how his mother died young, his father, I think his brother died of an overdose, which I'm sure probably messed him up in the head, and I wonder if he ever got help or treatment for that, and going through his life story and his wife and the domestic violence cases and his dogs, which we learned that if someone's abusing animals, that's usually a telltale sign that something in their mental health is not right, that they need some help mentally. But I wonder if he did get any treatment for that, because I think that stopping it right then would have been imperative in helping him in the long run of just dealing with that mental trouble he was in, and his history of multiple suicides. Once when he was 9, and again every time that his wife filed for a domestic violence, divorce, anything like that. I think he definitely should have been in some sort of counseling, and maybe that could have stopped it. But definitely the nurses should have stopped it. The law enforcement that was brought into the cases that he was involved in should have said something, or at least have put something out there that said, like, this guy has been accused of malpractice, he's been accused of breaking someone's arm, he's been accused of killing someone possibly. But yeah, and it interested me as well that in court, when he was listening to the impact statements of his patient's family members that he had killed, that he just was saying something over and over again. I don't remember exactly what he was saying. It was something about Your Honor stepping down, if I can find it for you. Your Honor, you need to step down. And he yelled it during all of the impact statements for 30 minutes. It says he yelled that. That right there is just a sign of mental instability for me. The fact that you can keep doing that even with the judge telling you to stop, even with your mouth being taped over, that you can still scream at these people. It's obvious that you have something that's mentally not okay there, that you needed help somewhere in your life, and he just wasn't getting it. So I almost felt bad for him at the beginning of it, and at the end it was just, it's the typical, he needed help and he didn't get it, and that his outlet was to murder these people, which is just crazy that he was able to murder so many people without a trace of anyone saying anything. That's just, and he worked in burn units and ICUs, and those are heavily, those units require a heavy amount of care, and the fact that whoever was interviewing him thought that he was capable of that care to their patients. I don't know. I think there was a lot of places that the whistle could have been blown in this situation. Should have been blown during the trauma of his childhood, the suicide attempts, the first person that he shouldn't have been in their room but was, with a drug that they weren't supposed to receive, the broken arm, the possible murder, the switching jobs randomly, just up and leaving. And I thought it was also interesting that this friend of Charles Cullen actually was kind of the one who made him confess, because she told him that she was being looked at for the murders of these patients, and so that then forced him to confess. I think it was interesting that he cared that much about his friend to confess, or to at least say it wasn't her to these people. I don't know. I think that that's insanely, there's a lot of depths to his mental instability that are there. He cares about this person, he had a wife, he had 2 daughters, he had another wife, but he still, and he believes that he was helping these people, that he was taking them out of their misery. And when he was interviewed, he actually told the person that he doesn't think he would have stopped, that he truly believed that he was, well, he says he truly believes that he was keeping them out of their misery. And I don't know, I thought this was awful. The fact that, I'm glad that we got something in place because of this, to run background checks and to see something, say something. I'm glad that there was legislation that came out of this, but it's still, to me, just terrible that this person could have killed so many people. And there might have been other Charles Cullens, too, that no one ever noticed, because we didn't have that kind of technology to say, hey, this person's pulling out massive loads of digoxin and giving it to patients who aren't prescribed digoxin. I'm really thankful that we got some legislation in place, that we got some technology that will definitely help people who, or help find out who's pulling drugs on the wrong people, and that goes for drug diverters too, obviously. But obviously this case helped us figure out some things in nursing, some big things that we needed, but the fact that this happened is just appalling to me, and that no one said anything. Even though nurses are supposed to be the #1 advocate for their patients, even though nurses are supposed to say when they believe there's an issue of patient safety going on, that no one felt like they could step up or felt like they should step up and say, like, hey, this person is not doing their job correctly. We need to, like, even secretly try to get hospital administration involved and law enforcement involved. Yeah, biggest lesson, keep your patients safe and don't trust nurses with digoxin if they're not supposed to have it. That's pretty much it. But thank you for listening to me ramble on about this. My mind is still blown from it, so I'm sorry if it was all over the place. But yeah, definitely some whistleblowing should have happened. Definitely very appalled that this even happened and that he was hired onto so many critical units without any background of knowing who this person was. But thank you. Bye.